Hey guys, Kevin Barnes here with KB's Kentucky Countryside Pursuit. Today we're going to talk a little bit about a hunt I had the other day where I was able to take out one of my target bucks, a 9-pointer that I got on one of the local farms down the road from where I live. Actually, this property this year was going to just be doe only for myself unless I saw one of these targets come by, and I was lucky enough the other day that about 5:30 in the evening I was sitting in my stand right at the edge of a corn row, and he slipped and made a mistake, and I was able to capitalize. But I wish that that was the way the story really went. It was a long, drawn out process. About 4:20, 4:30, I had a nice 8 to 10 pointer come in. He came into about 15 yards, but there was some finger branches in between me and him, so I had no shooting lane. He's one of those that I would be very, choosy if I pulled the trigger on or not. But he came in 15 yards. Spook took off, and at that point, I figured my night was over with. But an hour later, at 5:30, this beautiful 9-point came walking in, came around the corner. I gave him a little bleat, stopped him, and let off a shot that I was very comfortable with, very happy with. Watched the deer run about 40, 50 yards into the woods and just kind of stand there for a little bit. I lost sight of him for a while, so I figured he had laid down and was bedded. So after a little over an hour, I decided to climb down out of my stand. Excuse me. Climb down out of my stand, and as soon as my boots hit the ground, I heard him take off going through the woods. My plan was to get to the ground and circle back around to where my truck was, because when he went into the woods, he went basically directly between me and my Jeep. So I was going to circle around, take off, come back a few hours later, and start my track on him. But as soon as I heard him take off, I knew that decision was, out of question. So I walked over, found my bolt, walked into the woods, saw a ton of blood where he had been standing, and then just went back to the truck and left. Got back to the house, got online, looked up a deer tracker and talked to them for a little bit, and, made the decision that would meet up at 8:30 in the morning and go out and see if we could recover this deer. The deer tracker I used was Rachel Crum. I would absolutely 100% recommend her. She was a wealth of knowledge, taught me several things, and definitely helped me recover this deer. Unfortunately, by the time we found the deer, it was about 1:30 in the afternoon the next day. It was about 70 degrees out, and the meat had spoiled. But what a beautiful deer I was able to take. I just wish that I could have harvested the meat, but that happens sometimes. But one of the things that Rachel did have me do when I was talking to her is kind of look at my bolt. And I want to discuss that for a little bit and, kind of help educate people a little bit the way that she helped me over the last couple of days. Looking at my broadhead, you can see that there is some hair on there, some brown, some white. So we thought it was going to be a low shot, but after I went back and looked at the video, it was almost a perfect shot. Looking at the arrow, we're looking at the blood and everything on it, and then when we got down to the veins, we were looking at them. Might be hard to see on the camera here, but you can see these little dark spots. Talking to Rachel, she educated me on this and said that that's probably liver. They look like little tiny coffee grounds on there, and excuse me, and that indicates a liver shot. Looking at the blood, we could tell that we also had lung. So we knew that it was definitely a fatal hit. It was just a matter of when that deer was going to expire. And when we did find the deer eventually, after we field dressed them, we looked at where the shot hit. And the only thing I can come up with that the the reason that that deer didn't drop a lot quicker than it did is when the arrow entered, it must have been rotating, and we just clipped, part of the lung and part of the liver lobe, and it was a fatal hit, but it just took him a while. We ended up finding him about 400 yards from where I had shot. Rachel's dog Suki took us right to the area where we ended up finding the deer. Unfortunately, this time of year, it can be hard for a dog when it's in the woods. Bucks in this area are definitely very much starting their rut, so there is buck scent everywhere. So once we get to a point where blood actually stopped and we lost the blood trail, the dog kind of, goes off on the freshest scent that it can find. Rachel and her dog worked extremely hard for me. They were out there 5-6 hours looking for this deer, covered about 5 miles, in radius looking for it. But, while they were out looking, I stayed back at where we had seen the last blood and just kind of started doing a search for it. I would go out in one direction, 100, 150 yards, come back, go out and 15, 20 yards in an opposite direction, 100, 150 yards, come back. And I just continued doing that search. And about 1:15 or so, my wife had actually sent me a message asking if I was still out looking for the deer. And as I was replying to her, I looked over my shoulder into the woods, saw the belly of the deer, and found him laying there about 100 yards from the last blood site. So again, I know Rachel was kind of disappointed that her dog didn't find the deer, but if it wasn't for her and the dog, I never probably would have been in that general area to begin with after we lost the blood. So I give them a lot of credit for the hard work that they put in. I would highly recommend her in the Louisville area. If you have a situation where you need a dog tracker, definitely give Rachel a call. And she not only helped find the deer, but she taught me a lot of stuff on the way. So let's get into some of the footage here of what we saw and what happened over the course of basically a day and a half. And although, again, we weren't able to harvest the meat, I am extremely blessed to have found the deer, got to kind of close the chapter on it, spend a moment with the deer. I am still going to have him Euro mounted so that I can, kind of reflect back on this hunt and remember it. And he was definitely a gorgeous looking deer. But here's the episode, and I hope you enjoy. Had a nice 10-pointer come within 15 yards. I didn't have a shot at him because of the brush in between him and I, but I was hoping he was going to come up the trail right in front of me and expose himself, but he didn't. He got a scent of something and spooked and took off. He came right into the trail that I walked in on, so he might have smelled something on the ground, although I did have a drag behind me with some Black Widow on it. But I just let out a couple dope leads. Maybe he'll come back around. So it is 5:35. I just pulled the trigger on a nice buck probably about 3 minutes ago. I saw him run 50 yards that way. Looked like he laid down. So I'm just gonna hang out here for an hour or so. Make our way over there and see what we have. Fingers crossed. Big buck down. Unfortunately, the camera cut out a little bit of video, so as I had mentioned earlier, after my shot, my intentions were to get out of the stand, circle around to my Jeep, and head home and come back in a little bit to look. But again, as soon as my boots hit the ground, the deer took off running, so that's when I came home after I found my bolt, saw the blood, and got in touch with Rachel. We'll pick it back up where I met up with her the following morning. Alright guys, so here we go. It is the morning of November 4th. I got the dog tracker behind me, following me out to the farm. We're going to go out and see if we can find this buck that we shot about 5:30 last night. As I mentioned, just to recap a little bit, I was sitting in my stand yesterday, had a buck come in about 4:30. To about 15 yards, didn't have a shot at him. He ended up spooking and taking off. I honestly figured that was probably the end of the night. But an hour later at 5:30, I had another buck come in, walking down the corn row, came out in front of me. I bleated at him, got him to stop, made a shot. I've looked at the video 1,000 times overnight. Looked like a good shot. Definitely found some good blood. But like I said, as I was climbing down out of my stand, I heard him take off. So my original plan was to get out of the stand, circle back around to my truck, because he took off in the direction of my truck, and I was going to let him sit for a few hours, go back, try to recover him. But like I said, as I was climbing down out of the stand, I heard him take off, so I knew the best bet was just go home for the night. Call in a dog, and we'll head out there right now, see what we can find. So wish us luck. I will keep you guys updated, and hopefully next time that you hear me talking, I'm on top of a buck. Talk to you soon. Hey baby, you gonna help us find a deer?
She says, I hope so. I like chewing on them.
You can have anything you want off of them, baby.
Got him. Easy, easy. Calm down. Oh wow. Come on. Calm down.
The first blood I found was right over there. If you need me to stay back further, just let me know.
I'm still on blood.
Okay. So we've probably tracked about a quarter mile now. I'm standing at the last sign of blood. Looks like the dog might have lost its trail, so they're heading back this way now to this last site that we had blood at, and they're going to pick up from here, see what we can do. So hopefully we're on the right track. It's crazy, in my opinion, that he's made it this far, but we know that they are relentless animals, so fingers crossed. Hopefully the good Lord's on our side, and we find him here shortly.
right in here, so this way. Follow the line.
Well, it's almost 11 now. We've been searching for about 3 hours. No luck yet. There's just so much scent in the woods right now that once we get off blood, it's hard for the dog to pick it back up. We've reset the dog a couple of times back where the blood spot is. The handler and the dog are out looking right now. I'm just kind of circling the area that we found last blood at, seeing if I can find anything, but it blows my mind that we may not find this deer. It was a very ethical shot, great blood at the beginning. I know we bumped him as I was getting out of my stand, but I would still think that he would have only gone a little bit before he bedded down and expired. But we're going to continue at it and see what we come up with. Fingers crossed. So I just found my buck. I was walking along the edge of the field just looking in and found him laying over here. He's definitely going to be spoiled, so I don't think we're going to get any meat out of him, but he is a beautiful looking animal. I thank God that we're at least able to retrieve him, and we know that he did die. Just wish that we could have found him a little sooner.
I don't know if his meat's bad. Stop. So we know that it takes like 7 to 10 hours for rigor mortis to set up completely.
Okay.
So where they're fully stiffed, and there's still been left in his legs. She's gonna chew on him a little bit on the butt.
That's fine.
I would almost gut him. I mean, he's gonna stink because you got liver and guts, right? But I wouldn't be surprised if his meat's good.
Okay.
Really. I'll leave it up to you, but...
Well, all I can do is take him to the processor, and if they deny him, they deny him, right?
Yeah.
So Rachel did help me field dress the deer and get him loaded up into my Jeep, and I did take him to the processor that I generally use, and unfortunately, as suspected, they would not accept him. But as I mentioned earlier in the video, we are going to have him Euro mounted. It does stink not to get any meat out of this beautiful animal, but you know, it is what it is. It happens sometimes, but I'm just thankful again that I got to find him and have, you know, put my hands on him for the little bit of time that I did. So successful hunt, you know, not the best ending that we want, but at least we found the deer. I punched my buck tag for the year, and I still got 2 more doe tags to go. So stay tuned to KB's Kentucky Countryside Pursuit, and hopefully I'll have a couple more videos out before the end of the season with a couple more does. Thanks for watching, guys.